Good evening to you, Simon. Thanks very much for joining us. First of all, could you give us an update on President Donald Trump's health? Is he still in hospital at this hour?
Well, Sally, yes, he is still in hospital at this hour. I wish I could give you an update on what's going to happen next, but we've heard absolutely nothing from Walter Reed Medical Center all morning. The president was certainly up early. He engaged in an absolute storm on Twitter, a series of messages in all capital letters encouraging his supporters to get out and vote on a variety of different issues that he believes favor his chances in the upcoming presidential election. But he's in woeful shape in terms of the polling. Over the weekend, Joe Biden 14 percentage points ahead of Donald Trump nationally. That poll taken after the first presidential debate last Tuesday, before news spread of the president's positive COVID-19 test. The White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, told Fox News a few hours ago that it remains possible that the president will be discharged from Walter Reed Medical Center over the course of the next few hours. He could be back at the White House tonight. We simply don't know if that is still happening. We don't know what kind of medical treatment he may have received over the course of the last few hours. And unfortunately, Sally, the weekend was a weekend of such chaos, confusion and deliberate misinformation by this White House, by the president's own physician, Dr. Sean Conley, who conceded on Sunday that he had lied to the public on Saturday and to reporters about the president and the treatment that he was receiving, by the White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, and others in the White House communications operation, that at this point it's very difficult to know exactly what is going on. Donald Trump issued that video last night insisting that this experience in Walter Reed Medical Center has been a learning curve for him 7 months into a pandemic that has killed 208,000 Americans. He said, "I get it," of COVID-19, and then minutes later he demonstrated that he doesn't get it at all as he clambered aboard an SUV, putting the health and safety of the driver, his Secret Service detail, senior members of his staff at risk, so that he could engage in that absolutely reckless drive past a small crowd of Donald Trump supporters that had gathered outside the hospital. As you will have seen from the pictures, he waved at them as he slowly drove past them, and then he went back to the hospital, and we've not seen him since.
And, you know, that drive-by, obviously the supporters loving it, his detractors slamming it. We also know that medical people were saying it really was a dangerous thing to do in terms of possibly infecting his staff. And that's a big issue at the White House, the infections of his staff. It continues to climb, doesn't it? Just give us the latest on the people that we know who are now positive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth making the point, Sally, that the Secret Service says that anyone who was involved in that ride by the president will now have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And as we were just getting used to that news, we learnt within the last hour or so that the White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, has disclosed that she has tested positive for COVID-19 on Sunday in a flagrant violation of the new rules that were imposed at the White House by the National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien on Friday. She was not wearing a face mask when she briefed reporters. We now know that 2 other members of her staff in the White House press department have also tested positive for COVID-19 and are now self-isolating. Also testing positive, of course, 2 of President Trump's top advisors, President Trump's top personal assistant, 3 Republican senators at least, some Republican senators refusing still to take a test. Pressure is growing on them to do that. The head of Donald Trump's re-election campaign, Bill Stepien, the head of the Republican National Committee, Ronna McDaniel. I mean, it seems to be a very substantial outbreak that has taken place at the White House, and one has to say that 7 months into this, you know, they only have themselves to blame. They have engaged in a reckless disregard of the public health realities of this pandemic from day one, and now, less than a month from Election Day, are they paying the price?
Very briefly, Simon, what is the Biden camp saying? I mean, is this politically speaking, is this a bit of a gift for them? Or do you think that Donald Trump, who's so good at pivoting, do you think he'll manage to find a way to spin this and to make himself look good and make it look like he has renewed energy and compassion for those who've been through this disease?
Well, I will make the point that we've seen 3 videotapes from Donald Trump since he was diagnosed as COVID positive, and in not a single one of those videos has he conveyed a public health message to the American public. He still hasn't told the public to wear face masks. He still hasn't told the public to engage in social distancing. He says of COVID-19, "I get it," and yet he then engaged in that extraordinary ride-by outside the hospital here last night. Now, is it possible that Donald Trump vanquishes COVID-19, returns to the White House, portrays himself as an invincible gladiator, and manages to accrue some sympathetic bump in the opinion polls? Yeah, that's possible. But first of all, we did see one poll over the weekend showing that 72% of Americans blame the president for his own predicament. They say he didn't do enough to protect his own health, so that would suggest sympathy for him is limited. And secondly, and critically, we don't know what he's going to do when he returns to the White House. If he does discharge himself from the hospital today and heads back to the White House, is he going to isolate, or is he going to go straight back to work in the Oval Office and run the risk of spreading this infection yet further? We simply don't know the answer to that question.
Thank you very much, Simon Marks in Washington, and giving us the news that the President's press secretary is now COVID-19 positive as well.